Beautiful evening to you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another edition of State of the State on this channel. I am Sunday Kolawole. Today we'll be delving into a conversation that has to do with the impact of our East agenda of the Aida administration on the people of Ondo State. Just when he took oath of office to govern Ondo State, Governor Lucky Aida promised to bring ease to the life of the people, and part of the promises he made was to impact on the order and security of Ondo State, and also ensure rural and urban development as well as technological advancement, healthcare, power, infrastructure, education, among others. Today we'll be looking at how far, how good, how well, or otherwise has the Aida administration been able to go in achieving these goals. Joining me in the conversation is the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Aida. I'm talking about Prince Ebenezer Adenio. Thank you so much for joining me on State of the State.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Yes, let's start this way. Our ease mandate, what really brought mantra? We've heard of many mantras in Ondo State, 12-point agenda. Some will say 8-point agenda, 7-point agenda. You are not even counting. You are saying our ease mandate. What brought about these mandates as enunciated by the Ondo State man?
Thank you very much. Most of the time when politicians come up with campaign slogan, campaign statement, is why they are preparing to contest election. And but in the case of Governor Lucky that he was already in the system. He was elected as a deputy governor, and he had been part of that administration for just about 3 years before other events came up. So when he took the mantle of leadership, it was more or less a transition from within the same administration. Okay. And so the idea of our is to say this is a transition that we have taken over.
Yes, it connotes that there was a difficulty. It connotes that there was some
because at the time that we had that transition, even though it was unfortunate how it came about because of the passing of the former governor, but at that time we had a very serious political crisis in the state that attracted national attention, that warranted the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria calling stakeholders meeting twice to Abuja in order to just placate everybody and bring the situation under control. We had situation whereby there was impeachment attempt on Oga then when he was deputy governor, and we had the situation whereby for about 6 months there was no leadership in the state.
So those are things that
it was a difficult moment, not just in the life of the governor then, but also in the life of Ondo State as a state. I remember that even our elders like Shifala, Shifachonoti, the Afeniferes, and all the rest had to intervene. Had to call the attention of Mr. President to the crisis going on in Ondo State at that time. So when the whole thing came down a little bit, the governor and his team came up with the idea of Udironu. Now henceforth, there should be no problem henceforth, and that leading the people of Ondo State should come with ease.
Okay, your explanation is well made. But let's look at the sectoral explanation and impact of this ease. One of the very key points in that mantra is educational development. Can we really say there is ease in the education sector? In fact, many people have also been pointing to the fact that recruitment was made, but then there was no posting for a long time and all of that. Is that also part of the ease? What exactly is ease in the education sector?
Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, I can say that the sector that has gained a lot of priority from the administration of Dr. Lucky Aida is education. before the recruitment of teachers, Ondo State had gone decades without recruiting teachers, and we've had a situation whereby most of the teachers that were recruited in the 70s, in the 80s, were already retired, and a lot of vacancies created in a lot of schools. As a matter of fact, in some schools in rural areas, you had schools that will have maybe 2, 3 teachers. Maybe the head teacher and 2 others, or the head teacher and 3 others, and the rest. And these had been left untouched for decades. And when the attention of Mr. Governor was drawn to this, he felt it was wrong for us as a government to have to leave the schools, to leave the education of our children, to the hands of just a few teachers. As a matter of fact, some of the schools had to employ what is now popularly called PTA teachers, in which PTA will contribute money in order to pay some form of allowance to PTA teachers who were not on the payroll of the government, in order to just bridge the gap. And when Mr. Governor came on board, he said that he was going to ensure that all the schools in Ondo State, all public schools in Ondo State, are adequately manned by academic staff. And that's why he didn't just employ 200, 300 teachers. He employed over 2,000. That's over 1,000 for primary schools and over 1,000 for secondary schools. Of course, the figure
looks so nice for politicians to.
It's not nice. It's not about
suffice the want.
No.
Teachers in those schools.
It's not about being nice, because these are human beings. Apart from the fact that the governor is solving the problem of lack of teachers in our school, is also providing employment for unemployed youths in Ondo State. It is not easy for a government to take 2,500 to 3,000 people out of the unemployment market, because by the time you had the appointment that had been done in ODRS, over 200, in the health sector over 300, in the civil service, admin officer Keda employed. By the time you had all those in the last 1 year plus that has been in the saddle, so it's not just about figure. It's about the reality that we now have teachers. As a matter of fact, you mentioned the issue of posting. Of course, when you employ, you have to do the breakdown, because what Mr. Governor said was that schools where you have vacancies, that attention should be given to those schools. It's not just about posting teachers. You have to post teachers to where they can be useful, and to schools where there are vacancies, because ordinarily when there are recruitments like that, everybody wants to be in Akure. Everybody wants to be in the urban centers, maybe Ondo or War, and there is nobody wants to go to the rural areas. And that actually led to the long period of recruitment, because the idea was that the recruitment should be taken to the grassroots in such a way that those who are going to be recruited in Akoko Southeast, for instance, most of them should come from Akoko Southeast. Those who will be recruited in Osrc, most of them should come from Osrc, so that you post people to where they can easily identify with. That is not enough. By the time you post somebody who is maybe an Owo-Indiji, you post that person to SLDO, to Kiribo, for instance, and then he gets there, he starts complaining, the people are not nice to me, I can't speak their language, I don't understand, I can't swim on water, and the rest. And then they try to work the transfer from that place to the urban centers. So that necessitated the idea that the people of indigenous of those areas should be employed, like the governor said, you know that they are the indigenous of our area, teaching the students, so that it will be easy for them to assimilate. Getting accommodation will not be difficult. Speaking language will not be, dialect will not be difficult, and the rest.
So now they look like
yes, it was done. This was a deliberate a system that Mr. Governor, as a matter of fact,
I understand. I'm saying these are done works that should have been done. In the past, an issue.
Yes, in the past, but these had always been bypassed.
Are you saying it was bypassed and then now being done after they've been recruited?
No. This was done during the recruitment
so what delayed the posting?
No, of course. After no, everybody has been processed now. Everybody has been posted now.
When were they recruited? When were they posted? Because that was a
no. You should understand. No, you should understand this. That the recruitment was done towards the beginning of this academic session. So the idea was that the work of
the government wanted them to start.
Yes, we start with the first is it first term now, or with this term. This academic term. So when the recruitment was done, don't forget that there will also be processes of documentation. It's not easy to do the documentation of 2,000 people, because you have to bring your certificate. You have to bring your certificate. You have to bring your this and all that. So the documentation period also took a while because during the recruitment, if somebody told you at that time that it's from Akure South, then during the documentation you will really find out whether that person is from Akure South or not. So after the documentation was done, then the posting was done. I think by now everybody that has been recruited, both for primary and secondary school, by now should have received their letters of posting.
Primary and secondary schools are not the only aspects in the education sector.
Yes.
What's the update about our police?
Yeah.
What's going on in Adekunle Ajasin University?
Yes.
There's been lots of complaints,
yes,
especially from our end.
Thank you very much. Don't forget that when Mr. Governor came on board, he paid part of the arrears of the salaries of people being owed at Rufus-Giwa Polytechnic. There have been backlog of salary arrears in that place for quite a while, for years, as a matter of fact. That the government has been trying to deal with the situation, but what most people do not understand is that the government does not pay the salary of staff of tertiary institutions directly. Tertiary institutions in the state, Akungba, Owopoli, Osrc, and the rest. They pay their own salary from their subvention. The government gives subvention to them every month, and that from that subvention and their internally generated revenue, they take care of themselves. And when Mr. Governor came on board, as a matter of fact, he had increased the subvention of higher institutions in Ondo State twice. He did one when he was acting governor before he became governor, and then when he became governor, he did another one. That was aside the fact that he paid 3 months of the arrears of staff of Rufus-Giwa Polytechnic or what. So part of the challenges in some of those schools is that they are finding it difficult to manage their own resources. And then when there are crises, they run to the state government. You have a situation whereby, for instance, maybe I'm not saying this is the situation. I'm just trying to give an idea hypothetically that you have a situation whereby maybe somebody becomes a rector of a polytechnic, and then it gets under pressure from his community, from his people, and then within the 4 years of his tenureship, he had employed over 100 people. And then the subvention of the school remains the same for that period of 4 years that is there, and he has employed over 100 additional staff. That means maybe at the time he came on board, the staff strength maybe was about 1,002. At the time he's leaving after 4 years, it's now about 1,400. Then where do you get the additional money to pay the additional people?
So
in some cases like that, you have a lot of internal crises that will lead to some of those challenges that the higher institutions have. Recently, Mr. Governor set up a visitation panel to UNIMED. They just submitted their report early this week, I think. So some of those institutions have what they have merely internal crisis, not necessarily with the state government. But of course, when somebody is not paid salary in Adekunle Ajasin, it's going to call the name of the governor. It's not going to tell you that the salary is not being paid by the governor, that is being paid by that institution.
Well, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which also affects Ondo State as part of the entity called Nigeria, stipulates that security of lives and property shall be the major preoccupation in the mind of government. In Ondo State, there's been a resurgence of security challenges that's really making it to seem like security outfits
We don't have a resurgence.
So what exactly has been happening?
No, we do not have a resurgence because
kidnapping has gone abated before.
It has gone down. You can't say it's a resurgence if the situation is now calm. if it has gone down, well, of
what
course,
is calm in the security situation that a chieftain of
well,
the party was kidnapped
of
and eventually
course,
killed?
as a matter
Ransom
of
was taken there, the bearer were also picked up. And you said it has gone down.
Mr. Kolawole, you cannot compare what we have now with what we had about 2 months or 3 months ago. Where almost on a daily basis we had news of people being attacked there and there, you know. So, but as of today in Nigeria today, there is no single state that does not have pockets of security challenges. It's practically impossible. If a state can exist without security challenges, nobody will be budgeting for
Let's
security.
talk about Ondo
So
State.
we have.
I agree with you, but
that in
most
Ondo
times,
State,
just a moment, most
yes.
times I'm not cool when I find people looking at what happened somewhere else, what happened. Is it
because
is it
we
out
have
of
to
place?
because no, it's
is it
not.
out of
But
place that you have a better
yes,
performing?
we do. As a matter of fact,
security.
yes, we do.
We're not looking at what exactly is going on in other states.
No, we have to.
We're talking about Ondo State.
My brother,
why do we have
yes.
these violent crimes coming up?
We have to mention other states because Ondo State is a subset of the Nigerian society.
Understandably,
it's not as if we have our own land separate, and we don't control our own border. The interstate border system is controlled by the federal government, because, for instance, you can't stop the people of Kogi from coming into Ondo State. You can't stop the people of Edo from coming into Ondo State. But in most cases, these crimes that happen in Ondo State are committed by people who come into our border from neighboring states. That is why you have the areas that have been identified as flash points. At least you have some parts of Akoko, you have Osrc, and then you have the area in Akure North, where we share border with Edo State. Because an attack that happened at the time that some people shared some old video anyway, but this was a community that was more or less a border community between Ondo State and Edo State. As a matter of fact, those who were said to have been attacked in that place were taken to Edo State, an hospital in Edo State, not in Ondo State, because it was, that place was nearer to Edo State than Ondo State. So most of the issues we have border on the challenges we have in our border areas and within our forests and the border areas in Kogi. And so if you look at what is happening in Kogi and what is happening in Edo, for instance, there's no way that you can effectively say that, oh, okay, let us block the road. People from those states should not come into the state. And there are some areas, yes, there are some areas where today those challenges have gone down. Now we have security posts in some of those flashpoints. Now we have a joint patrol that is being funded by the government. That is, we have the Motekun and we have other members of other security agencies
exactly
who are within that.
Your point is actually well understood. My issue there is
and recently, before you get to the next point, recently there have been a lot of arrests of kidnapped suspects, of armed robbery suspects, and the rest by the police and by Motekun. So it is
by the police and by Amotekun.
Yes, so it is wrong to say that we have a resurgence. We do not have a resurgence, but the problem is that there will be pockets of challenges like that, and when those challenges come, we now have a structure that will enable us to deal with them.
Threatening the structure and architecture of security in those states beyond the powers of the security agencies? No,
but you see, the truth of the matter is that I know one government officials at the time said something that some people were angry that he said something. But the truth of the matter is that where you have security challenges, people within the system are involved. You know, like it's just like somebody saying at the time that one former head of state said that if insurgency lasts for more than so period, that is done internally. You know, so for instance, in Owo recently, I think the hunters and community arrested some people, who they said were informants to kidnappers, or those supplying them maybe food in the bush, in the forest, and the rest. You know, so when you have a situation whereby some of our people are colluding with people from other states, because now people want to make money easily, and they feel that one of the fastest ways to make money now is to kidnap people and ask for ransom. So if you have people within the system, within the communities, collaborating with evildoers, with criminals, there will always be challenges for you to deal with, because how do you know who is who within the society? This is why now part of what the patrol is, what the joint operation is doing, is to post some plainclothes operatives to some of these areas that you will not know that they are security operatives. They will just be there like
I understand
ordinary
the picture
citizens.
you've painted,
Yes.
but then there are concerns about alleged rivalry between the Ondo State Security Network, Amotekun, and sister security agencies. How is government dealing with this, or what is the stand of government on this matter?
When you have sister agencies doing almost the same work, there will always be rivalries. There will always be competition. There will always be situation where you have people, for instance, what unfortunately happened recently in a situation whereby somebody will say, oh, okay, we arrested this particular suspect. No, it was us that arrested the suspect and all that. So,
and then it led to shootout.
We're going to, it should be in our custody, or it should be in the custody of your. So, I don't think it's a big concern that we should be concerned about, because such rivalry, at times, such rivalry can be productive.
I love the example you cited, but then I have a problem with your conclusion that you do not think it's a big deal we should be concerned about.
No, I don't think it's something for us to be concerned about.
If there was a shootout at a place where people are, and you feel it's not being a source of concern?
That I think was over exuberance on the part of one of those involved.
It calls for concern.
But unfortunately, when the security people bearing harm, when they face each other, sometimes they want to show power. They want to show who is more powerful and who is not. It's unfortunate, but I don't want us to treat this as a distraction to fight against insecurity in the state. So we can't continue to pay attention to that.
It's not lucky that you are paying more attention to the security of life and property, especially with the way and manner things are cropping up. You do not want to believe if they are resurgence, you believe they are pockets.
No, they are not, because you are in the news. Mr. Kolawole, no, sir, you are in the news. You know, and I know, that the number of news items that you report on security challenges or security incidents today must be less than what you were reporting about 2-3 months ago.
You will also agree with me that the people will only rest when they can rest with their
of course, the government is doing its best.
Exactly my question, to know what exactly more government will do to enhance security. I started this conversation by telling you that it is the major preoccupation in the mind of any serious government. And so, what will be the assurance to the people?
And I have just explained to you the steps that have been taken by the government. Don't forget that just a few months after Mr. Governor became governor, he distributed security patrol vehicles to security agencies in the state. Now, a contract has been awarded to get additional vehicles and other working equipment for security agencies in the state. I've mentioned the issue of joint operation that we now run. I've mentioned the issue of outpost security posts in some of the flash points that have been identified. Then the government is funding that operation. We have more resources that have been given to Amotekun and other security agencies to perform their duty. So this is why people should be rest assured. It's why people should be rest assured that this will become a thing of the past.
All right, the people will be willing to wait and see that happen in the shortest period so possible. Let's talk about infrastructure in Ondo State, because part of what this administration, the Loki Aida administration that you belong to, has promised is that our ease will impact the people not just in security, education, and health, but also in infrastructure development. Let's go to Shagari area. Oyeri William Flyover has, at least I can confirm, 2 deadlines that have come and gone, and now that project is not completed.
That is not true. That is not true.
The former special advisor was here. I talked about a particular deadline.
The governor,
he came back,
I'm not aware of that.
Deadline.
I'm not aware
of that.
I am
telling you, you're not aware. So I'm asking what is going on with that project.
I'm the spokesperson for the governor. The special advisor can come up with a deadline on his own.
Oh, okay.
But that is not from the governor.
He came up with a deadline on his own?
Of course, because he's the one in charge
of the project.
But that
so
is that
why
did
will
not
what
come
he
with
said
from the governor.
then not be authentic if it's the one in charge?
No, because whatever you do as an appointee of the governor, whatever decision you want to make depends on what the governor does. You know, so you might make a proposal to the governor. The governor might say, oh, okay, maybe it will be difficult for us to work with this.
So those declarations did not get the nod.
I'm not saying that. I'm only saying that I'm not aware of it as the spokesperson for the government.
Oh, okay.
The only road that has a deadline that I know of is Oda Road, which is a deadline of June that the governor gave to the contractor. Other than that, there is no deadline because it's going to be difficult for you to put a deadline on the construction of a flyover. You know, the flyover is not just a road that you just lay asphalt on the road and then you go away. You know, it's a sensitive project. It's not something you just do overnight. It's not something you carry people and say, okay, within the next 2 months we'll finish this. No, it's more difficult than that. And don't forget that this is a road that is being used constantly by people, and you have a lot of regular movement there. In the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, you know. So
I'm a layman. I'm not a civil engineer.
Yes,
but I understand that there's something called diversion.
We have diversions there, but there are areas where you cannot create wide diversions because of residential buildings and the rest and other structures. You know, so if you have made way for the main road, it may be difficult for you to now start destroying other people's property just because you want to make diversion for people. So this may make it a little bit difficult, but the special advisor was there on the road I think 2 days ago.
The new special advisor now?
Yes, the new special advisor now to supervise the slabs that they are making now on top of the bridge. And I think once they are done with that, they can now connect the two parts of the bridge together. But like I said, constructing a flyover of that will carry load, that will carry a lot of weight on a daily basis. It's not something you can just rush, and it's not something you can put a deadline.
Let me get it correctly.
Yes.
So the Aida Destination is saying through its spokesperson now that there's no deadline on delivering.
There's no deadline flyover that I'm aware of on that flyover. That flyover will be ready when it is ready. But I know that on Oda Road there's a deadline for June to be completed, and they are already working on that.
How about Ijoka
now? No deadline on Ijoka because I've also explained that Ijoka Road has a few challenges too. Okay. The road in Ijoka is bigger than that of Oda Road, and it's also longer than that of Oda Road, and the terrain is more difficult than that of Oda Road. That of Oda Road looks a little bit straightforward, you know, but that of Ijoka is, if you go there, you see that it's a little wider than that of Oda Road, and because of the terrain too. But now, some months ago, there were issues over negotiation and renegotiation of the contract. Okay. Because don't forget that most of these projects were inherited by Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa. It wasn't the one. Yes, of course, but let me give you a scenario.
Okay.
That most people do not know this, but this is one of our challenges. If, for instance, now, let's assume that a former governor awarded a contract of a road.
Don't let's assume. Tell us what is going on there.
No, I'm not saying, I don't want to be particular, but I just want to paint a scenario for you that a former governor awarded a contract for the construction of a road, and then that contractor had been paid like 70% of the contract sum. Okay. And now we have a new governor, and the new governor wants to continue with that road, and then the new governor finds out that the level of work done on the road is about 35%. Meanwhile, the contractor has collected money to the tune of 70%. And then you need to sit down and restructure the contract. Because at this time now, if you now ask the contractor, you need to raise us certificate of 70% to match with the 70% of the contract sum that you have collected. And then you could have a situation whereby the contractor will start telling you stories that this was not what he bargained with those who were there before. So if you now have such a situation, or that is one scenario. Another scenario is that some of these road projects were awarded about 5, 6, 7 years ago, and then the contract sum at that time was based on a particular threshold of pricing. Now economic realities have made it difficult to work with that same
economic reality.
Yes, have made it difficult.
I'll come back to that.
Yes, have made it difficult to work with that threshold that was established 5, 6, 7 years ago. Now contractors will now approach you to say we need to review this contract because we can't work with, maybe we were charging so per meter before, now it has to be double of that. Now you need to sit down and readjust, and then ask the contractor to raise the certificate of the job that has been done, and then maybe ask the contractor that, okay, because you have collected money to 70%, you need to do it to 70% before we give you additional money to proceed. So this was one of the issues we had with Odaro.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, with Ijokaro.
That's not what
yes, but now things are, some of these issues have been sorted.
Okay.
I think the contractor is back there now. I think they have resumed work with stone base on the road now, so it can take pace. I want to believe that by the time we are done with Oda Road, then we can shift attention to Ijoka Road, because all these projects are also competing for the same set of resources that we have.
I love that you talked about economic realities, and
yes.
I'm glad you also said that these projects are competing for the limited resources. Couldn't that be better that government looked at the economic realities and finish the Ijoka Road, finish the Oda Road before now dabbling into Okearo Idari Road?
No, it will be difficult, because every year you set targets. Every year you earmark projects that you want to do. So it's
what
probably,
is the point of setting
it's
projects
difficult.
every year and not finishing them?
Let me tell you something. That the people of Ondo State should praise Governor Ayedatiwa.
Why?
Because in most cases, when governors come, they abandon such projects. In most cases, if you go through the length and breadth of Ondo State, you will see abandoned projects that governors will refuse to touch. We've had a situation whereby somebody established a university, the person that came after him decided to abandon the university, or somebody awarded a road, the person that came after him decided to abandon the road and start his own project. Somebody awarded a banquet, an event center, a banquet hall, and then the person that came after him abandoned it and decided to do his own banquet hall or event center separately. So we've had a situation like that over the years, in which governors don't want to take over the projects of the past, and sometimes it's not their fault. I've just explained to you now that sometimes, like I'll give you an example, the old banquet hall that was abandoned at Alagbaka in front of the governor's office, which the government is trying to revisit now. The contractor left because, according to what I heard, that he had collected up to 90% of the contract sum. But the company that project was awarded to is even no longer in existence. The company has folded up. And if you get there, you still see the crane of the company still standing. Why did they not take the crane away? They couldn't take the crane away because the government did not allow them, because the contractor had collected money and they had abandoned the project because another administration came. So the administration that came, that did not want to continue with the project, refused the contractor taking away the equipment, because the government felt you are owing us because you have not done this job to the level of the money that you have collected.
So these projects will receive
some of these projects, most governors will abandon them and just go and start their own afresh. But when Mr. Governor came on board,
is that the case with the ongoing Ijoka?
I'm telling you now, because now we are doing
another project.
Because even with the difficulties that we met on board, the governor still decided to continue with this project. I've just explained to you that in some cases,
I agree with you. You have talked about some cases. We all are in this country where mismanaged. What I am asking you, Mr. Daniel, is are you confirming to the people of Ondo State that none of these projects will suffer neglect?
None, not a single one. Because if the governor is continuing with the Ijoka Road project now, if he's continuing with Oda Road project now, and if work is ongoing on the flyover, I'm not sure, since we got into this administration, that you pass that flyover one day, I will not see people working there. They work almost every day. So if we are doing all this, do not forget, because sometimes people forget how long we've been in government. Don't forget that we've just been here for about 16 months. It's not as if the governor has spent 4 years or 5 years in office. So if within the 16 months that he has been in office, he's still continuing with this project, you also give him the opportunity to start his own project. Because nobody wants to be a champion of I completed other people's project. He should also, I mean, if you want to become governor, he campaigned. He campaigned to people. He made promises during electioneering. He went to communities and promised them roads. He went to schools and said he will build schools, he will do recruitment. He made promises. Right. Now he has to fulfill those promises. One of the promises he made is the dualization of Akure Idore Road, which he has started now, which was put in the budget for this year. So it is practically impossible for him just to say, because he's continuing with other projects, that he should not start another one.
Your point is well made, but we need to move faster because of our time. Industrial harmony has always been part of Ondo State for a long time, except for little skirmishes sometimes that the politicians call pockets of issues. But come, some people are of the opinion that industrial harmony was almost tampered with the rumored demolition of staff quarters in Ondo State. What is the update on this matter?
Well, thank you very much. I don't think there was any issue with industrial harmony over that matter. I think what we had was communication gap in a way that some leaders, labor leaders, were carried along when the decision was taken. But maybe at the time they were carried along, they did not inform the people who were occupying those flats. And of course, when those people got the notification, they decided to raise the alarm. What if you go to Alagbaka now, you see that there is an ongoing regeneration going there, an urban renewal project of the state government. You go through the front of the governor's office, you go through the CBN area, you see the roundabout is being worked on, the government house is being worked on, there's a new terrace apartment being constructed for the ESCO, and then this idea is that we can't continue to have all these within a space where you have dilapidating structures. And that was why the government took that decision that these structures, it's actually more difficult, more expensive to maintain them than to build new ones. Because you have, for instance, I stay in the government house as a CPS to the governor. The lodge where I stay, the water pipe there was one that was done about 30 years ago. So if you want to change the water pipe, you have to practically destroy most parts of the building in order to change the pipe if you notice a leak or something. So most times it's more expensive to maintain these structures than to build new ones. So, and then you look at a situation whereby some of these flats, you have a situation whereby a 3-bedroom flat is standing on 3 plots of land. That's like a waste of landed property, that you have 3 plots of, you just have 1 flat, and then you have big compound and fence around it, where you can have a terrace that can take about maybe 9 flats, but you have 1 2-bedroom flat on that same property. So what the government is trying to do now is to continue its urban renewal project with the demolition and restructuring of those structures. But the governor has promised that nobody will be rendered homeless from there. Of course, notification has been given. If you are not able to get another apartment before then, the government can look for alternative accommodation for you to stay. So, but I can assure you, as of today, the head of service is taking care of the industrial part of the labor leader part of that project, and the project will continue by the time the government is ready with it.
All right then. There are also concerns in certain areas of what they call Totham agenda. I'm sure you have also heard people talk about that on social media and all of that. And many are asking, how come Totham? Many do not understand the provision of the Electoral Act as far as governance is concerned. So can you shed light on what exactly is the issue?
I don't know what you want me to shed light on, because this is something that people like you brought up.
I'm not on the social media.
Yes, like people.
I'm asking you because I have seen
there's
it.
no
I'm asking you as the spokesperson.
Okay, let me ask you.
If you
okay,
are not aware of this
let me
matter.
ask you a question. Have you ever been to any event, or have you ever seen in any news item or in anywhere where the governor said, "I want to seek a third term"?
I am asking you.
No. I'm just telling you, Mr. Kolawole. I'm just telling you that this is just a rumor.
Oh, okay.
Created by politicians, and when politicians come up with this, they know what they are driving at, because they want to force the man to say something.
Okay, so you're saying it's not people like me, it's politicians.
It's also people like you, because you
how?
See it, of course, the media.
Asking you to clarify
yes,
what exactly.
There's nothing to clarify.
Now you have just clarified the issue as a rumor.
The media will always fit. I'm a media person. I know the media will like this kind of story. The media will like this kind of story when it goes around. They say that somebody is seeking third term. Whatever it is, somebody has just been sworn in as governor. He has not even spent 100 days in office, and then you are talking about election of the next 4 years. How does that even make any sense? You know, that somebody who has not even spent 100 days out of 4 years mandate that he has, and now you are not talking of whether he is eligible to contest again or not. It's immaterial, because he has not asked anybody to do anything on his behalf. He has not told anybody anywhere that he wants to seek a term, whether it's a second term or a third term. You know, this is just something for people to make noise with, and for some people to make money with, by raising unnecessary alarm here and there. You know, so I don't know where this is coming from, but of course,
CPS.
people will do this because we have a law, and because of past experiences, maybe with Jonathan and some other and then they have seen a governor now that is in a scenario that happened some years ago, and now people are trying to add 2 + 2 to make 5, not even 4. You know, so but everybody is free to his or her own opinion, but there's nowhere where the governor has told anybody that he's seeking any election. He's focused solely on the 4-year term that has just been given to him by the people of Ondo State.
According to the dictate of the job that you have, how
Yes.
do you feel now clarifying matters and making people understand how it goes?
That's my job.
So
that's what I do.
Why then do you feel that the media
I just feel like some of these issues come up because people like to feast on things that are unnecessary.
Isn't it your job
because
to clarify issues such as this?
In fact, as a matter of fact, I will even prefer not to talk about it.
But you have just talked about it, and more people are well informed that the governor has no intention according to you.
I don't have to say that. I don't have to clarify. I don't have to say that. Because the governor has not told anybody he has any intention to run anything, why do I need to clarify that? I don't have to. I just have to answer the question because I'm live on air. If I had known that you were going to ask me that question, I would say I will not answer it because it's meaningless. If you want to know whether somebody is going to contest or not, it's going to come, Abi. That day will come, Abi. If somebody is going to contest,
in essence, you are saying
if somebody is going to contest,
that time.
If somebody is going to contest for an election, will that day not come that the person will contest for that election? If somebody wants to seek nomination, will that day not come that the person will seek the nomination? So why do you need to raise unnecessary doors?
Again,
why don't you wait?
Again, you have provided more clarification on the matter.
Yes, I'm just telling
because
you.
Because it is your job.
Yes, it is. But there are some things that will
I think we should move on.
Yes.
You have done justice to the matter, and I am satisfied. My brother, especially because this is my job to ask you.
Yes,
this is your job to clarify.
Anytime you interview me, you make my blood rise, because there are some things that will rather leave unattended to, and this issue of third term.
Don't you think this posture of leaving things unattended to?
Yes,
are the things that make fake information fester. If you are in authority,
it doesn't matter.
If you are in authority,
no, it does not matter. Let me tell you something.
Do you know you are the official spokesperson of the governor?
Wait.
And so your clarification is taken at the official stance.
Okay, let me tell you this. I'm an information manager.
Very well.
My own job is not just to speak. I also need to manage information.
Of course, I agree with you.
More often than not, it is better to not attend to some issues. Because most times when people say stuff that they say, they know that what they are saying is not true, but they want you to react to it. For instance, if I'm an opposition spokesperson, let's assume that I'm the spokesperson for PDP in Ondo State, I will deliberately put falsehood out and force the government to react to it. When the government reacts to it, my job is done. Because I cannot tell my party, wait, look at it, they have reacted to what I raised yesterday. You know, that's the job that people do when they raise issues. Some of the time they raise those issues in order to bait you into reacting to those issues. What the people are doing now is to want to force the man to come out and say, okay, I want to do it, or I'm not doing it. And it's not going to do that because it makes no sense. That's why most of the time, that is the philosophy of Mr. Governor, and that's the one that I also share as his spokesperson. That most of the time you don't need to react to things like this.
Prince,
just allow them.
Time is no longer on our side.
Yes.
But before I let you go, there are also concerns in certain quarters about alleged infringement on human rights. Some have pointed at certain cases. You have come up to also clarify the issue of Ebonwale, like you addressed him the other time.
Yes.
Now that some are also talking about Orim Sadelokiki, what exactly is going on?
I don't know what they
why,
have.
Why are some people
the issue,
pointing at the governor?
I don't know. People point at the governor because he's the governor. He is the governor. Okay. Hey, somebody, it's possible that somebody
saying he's not aware of anything.
He has nothing to do with it. This is a business. This is like a transaction, an issue of community and transaction and the rest. How does that have anything to do with the governor? Because the company is owned by the governor, by the government rather, and then people want to say, okay, because it is government that is doing to government agency or government company that is doing something to somebody, then it must be the governor that is doing it. It makes no sense. When the arrest or the whatever happened to Wale Omolegbon the other time happened, and then they had to come out to say that the governor had nothing to do with it. In fact, when I called Mr. Governor, he was even asking me, I had to explain to him what had happened because he knew nothing about it. He was one arrest, another arrest. I had to be explaining to him. He had nothing to do with it. You know, so more often than not, people do whatever they want to do, but people also know that the best way for you to get attention to your matter is to mention the governor. So if something happens to you now and you want the attention of the people to get to it, the first thing you do is to mention the governor. You know, so this is done everywhere. It's just we have people who are activists and blackmailing is their job, and they know that the higher the caliber of the people they mention, the more attention they get to their matter.
Chief Press Secretary to the Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Ayeda to other Prince Ebenezer Adeniyi. Before I let you go, and so that you know I'm not raising your blood,
yes.
I like to know something that many people have also been asking.
Okay.
Where do you get money from? All of the things you do giveaways. Just recently I heard that you also renovated the press crew office. Where are you getting the money from?
Well, thank you very much. I get the money from the governor of Ondo State, Dr.
So you don't bankroll me?
I'm his spokesperson.
So you bankroll
he funds my office, and but the difference between me and maybe my peers is that what comes to my office, I make use of. I deny myself a lot of
office, you make use of.
Yes, I deny myself a lot of personal gains by making use of the funds that come to my office for what it is meant for. You know, because I believe that my own reward or my personal gain will come from other sources, not from the money that is meant. Every month I get what they call media relation funds of my office, which I'm entitled to, and I use the media relation funds for the media to do media relation because that is the title of the fund is media relation, and I use it